Hi, I'm James Shi. When we talk about Taiwanese American issues, it's very easy to lapse into using labels like FOB, fresh off the boat, or ABC, American born Chinese or Taiwanese, pan green or pan blue, to put people in categories that we understand. When we do this, we run into the danger of making unfounded assumptions about their experiences or their opinions. Tonight, I talk to just such a person who doesn't fit in these little neat boxes. Weinberg sophomore Michael Wu has a hard time giving himself a label. He was born in San Francisco but moved to Taiwan right after birth. He then moved to San Diego at the age of 3, but returned to Taiwan in 3rd grade. He then came to San Diego again to start high school. Both of his parents are Hokkien, and all his grandparents speak Japanese.
My grandfather on my dad's side, I think he was like a government bureaucrat. I don't think they were really that politically active. I mean, they sort of just adapted to the different political climate.
Surprisingly, his father supports the Pan-Blue coalition, and his mother is indifferent.
I think it's mostly due to his, the people he interacts with. They're all businessmen and his own, job. So I think that's the main reason for his role. I mean, if you have unstable political environment, that's bad for business.
Growing up, he was not socialized into the politics of Taiwan. He became curious and started reading on his own.
My parents never really discussed it. I think that was basically my own interest, and obviously when I would ask my dad and stuff like that about it. Really, I think I'm just interested in security and international economy issues and political science naturally, and then since I'm from Taiwan, obviously I would be more interested in that part of the region. So,
having lived in both America and Taiwan, he says he has an outsider's perspective on Taiwanese politics.
You know how you say there's FOBs and there's ABCs. I think I'm sort of in the middle, so I think it's good that I'm sort of mixed because I sort of have an understanding of both sides. So I guess I'm worldly or culturally enriched or something like that.
Like his father, he too supports the Pan-Blue coalition.
Taiwanese are still Chinese in the sense that they're still one of the ethnicities. I mean, I think history, because of the influence of history, I guess that's what makes them special because they have all these different outside influences. But yeah, I'm not exactly sure if it really is a good argument for independence because I think Taiwanese are Chinese ethnically and culturally, but I don't think they're Chinese politically.
But he's also a pragmatist.
Well, my view on independence is right now isn't the time, and I guess eventually maybe the people of Taiwan should decide, and also I guess that depends on the political environment too.
He doesn't buy into the fiery rhetoric of the independence movement.
There's some crazy notions about Taiwanese are gonna resist, they're gonna take to the hills and then fight a guerrilla war against the PLA. That's not gonna happen, It's there's no way that people who've already experienced first world living conditions, there's no way they're gonna go to the hills and start eating grass just to fight the invaders and stuff like that. I think if there's ever a war and then if the PLA ever lands ground troops in Taiwan, then yeah, I think that's over. People would just give up and then try and revert back to business as usual.
He says that Taiwanese Americans are especially susceptible to that rhetoric because they don't have to suffer the consequences.
I find that a lot of times Taiwanese born in America, they just they bring up they were brought up with all these ideals of freedom and stuff like that. So I would actually say that Taiwanese born in America are actually more pro-green just because that they can afford to say because they were brought up with all these notions, and then they can afford to say that independence is good because if proverbially if shit hits the fan, then it doesn't really matter to them. Well, I guess for people who grew up in Taiwan, they have more stake in Taiwan not being blown up. So
in fact, He believes the heated argument over Taiwanese independence is overshadowing many other important social and economic issues.
Right now, the political environment in Taiwan isn't really that healthy because, I mean, I guess an analogy would be like in Israel, where basically what people are voting on are in Israel at least, what people are voting on are the different parties' beliefs in like the Palestinian situation, and I think and they're not really, and there's a lot of other important issues, like for example like economic development and like social policy that people are overlooking. I think it's the same thing in Taiwan, how a lot of times all the issues are just focused on independence, and a lot of times important issues are ignored.
In the end, he says it's difficult to characterize his personal experience with Taiwanese politics because everything in Taiwan is changing so fast.
When I left, like, I don't think they even started building the 101 yet, and then when I went back, you know, the tower is complete, you know, it's all there. I mean, it was ready to be used, so I think it's very, like when I lived in San Diego for 10 years, and every time I go back, it's almost always the same. You know, there's nothing different, but then every time I go back to Taiwan, like, there's like something new about it, like something different, so things are changing very fast. It's still very exciting, so to speak, and I guess the politics is like also part of it because like 10 years ago Taiwan's political environment was like very different, and I'm sure in 10 years it'll be even more different. So
although he comes from a deeply Taiwanese family, he identifies more with being an American and plans to stay after graduation.
Politically, I would say I understand more about American politics just because the only thing that you see in news articles regarding Taiwan is regarding the independence issue. Now, I don't understand what's going on in Taiwanese society. I don't really have a good idea how the economy is doing, and then this might be trivial, but I think it says a lot, is that, like, for example, I don't know what's going on with all the celebrities in Taiwan, you know? Like, you know, I don't know who the hell Jay Chou's latest girlfriend is, even though, and I guess a true Taiwanese would know that.
Nonetheless, he says that Taiwan will always be an important part of his identity, and wouldn't mind returning there to work if he were sent by an American company. For tonight's story, I'm James Shi.